Hello, and thank you for joining us for our November virtual opening. My name is Emma Wilson. I'm the director here, and just so delighted that you could tune in. This month's feature artists are Bibby Gignilliat, Steve Rogers, MJ Benson, and Whitney Heavey. We'll hear more from them in a few moments. First, a few thank yous. Thank you to our artists who continue to inspire and engage with us and share their phenomenal works every week. And thank you to our clients who continue to support the arts and keep it valuable right at the forefront of their minds. So it's November, and we can't really ignore what is happening in the world with the economy and elections and the winter months approaching. But we hear more and more frequently the need to find calm and inspiration and connection. And whether it be at our monthly openings here at 154 Middle, or our recent musical collaboration with Choral Uprising, or a new partnership with nearby Cumberland Club, we know that art has the power to pull people together and bring joy and generate curiosity. And as my nephew used to say while eating Brussels sprouts, it's good for you. So stop in and see us at 154 Middle Street 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, or visit us online 24/7. So now let's hear from this month's feature artists. And now I'd like to introduce artist Bibby Gignilliat. Bibby has been creative since she first picked up her first crayon, and she started private art classes at 10 and then put her art career on hold at 11 after being criticized by her art teacher. Turning her adult creative talents towards cooking, Bibby became a marketing manager for Williams-Sonoma and then decided to go to culinary school. From there, she offered interactive cooking classes, which evolved into the company Parties That Cook. The business was successful, but then Bibby says she had an epiphany when, as a panelist at the Sloan School of Management at MIT, she heard her company described as a lifestyle business. And she realized she'd been pushing so hard that she had left her own lifestyle behind and forgotten what she loved, which was that she loved to paint. So coming full circle, Bibby sold the business and shifted her focus to becoming a full-time mixed media artist, working at the ICB building in Sausalito, California. She is self-taught, unconstrained by the formal training of art school. In 2021, her work was chosen for the DeYoung Open at the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco, and we are so happy to be representing her. Please welcome artist Bibby Gignilliat.
Hi, I'm Bibby Gignilliat, and I'm a mixed media artist based in Sausalito, California. I have a large studio in the ICB building here in Sausalito where 150 other artists have studios. And I heard about the Portland Art Gallery through Andrew Faulkner, who is one of the artists in the building and a close friend. And he loved working with the Portland Art Gallery. So I wanted to get in on the action. My work is largely an intuitive dance between sort of the analyzer and the intuitive brain. And I tend to create very freely. As Michael Singer says in his book, The Untethered Soul, there's rocks in the river, and if you grab onto the rocks, your work tends to be pretty tight. And if you let go and just go with the flow, it is a very fluid, free-form work. My work is a lot about texture. I find people fascinating. There's many layers to the onion, and you peel back the layers as you get to know people and as you get to know yourself. And my work is very similar in that way. So I usually start with a layer of solid collage, and then I come in with paint using a trowel, which is a mason tool, and it covers it completely. And then I get out my big orbital sander called Bruno, and I sand the heck out of it so it just stresses it. And then I start my design. And usually it's a mixture of gestural paint marks or graphite. And then I start in with the collage. And I'm sort of fascinated by collage. I realized early on when I started painting that I was more of a collage artist. So I collect scraps. I have many scraps from my childhood in my work, or things I find on the streets, and they'll show up in my work. So it's almost like a diary of my life. Some of my work, like one of the pieces that's going to be in the show, Comfort Zone, has a story about my cow that likes to eat Kellogg's cornflakes. And a lot of people think I grew up on a farm, but I grew up in a suburb of Chicago. I'm sure you can tell by the accent. So I incorporate these pieces into my work as a way to connect with my younger self, which was very imaginative and playful. Um, and and then to kind of reveal what's underneath, which sort of represents the subconscious and the conscious. I'll just tell you a little bit about my background. I painted at age 10, and then I had a critical teacher and became a perfectionist. So I stopped painting for many years. And then 8 years ago, I took a class from a man named Nick Wilton in the ICB building. And literally, I was the worst one in the class. But I had determination and discipline. So I got a space in the ICB building. I was only 100 square feet, and I felt like an imposter. I didn't even want to leave the studio or anyone to see me, like going to the bathroom or getting water or anything. But I kept working on it and eventually found collage through various teachers. So I've essentially given myself like a master's in art by finding all the right teachers and studying with different people along the way. And so eventually I moved into my current studio space, which is a 1,500 square foot space. And I teach twice a month or once a month in the studio. And then I have an online class with 750 people from around the world in it. And it's a self-paced, self-study class. So I'm able to share my learnings with other people and hopefully inspire them. Much of my work in this show tonight or this week is, much of my work is about, like I said, texture, and you'll be able to see that in the work at the show. I'm flying out for the show. I'm super excited to be there and get to meet everybody, including the fellow artists and Kevin and the Emmas and Nikki. And so I hope you will come, and I hope that I get a chance to meet you.
And now I'd like to introduce artist Steve Rogers. Steve's parents lived through the Depression and World War II and were adamant that he go to college, real college, not art school, because he needed to get a real job. And Steve, he went along with it. But he still took art classes, created cartoons for the college newspaper, and paintings for the date money. After graduation and a stint in the military, Steve did store design and advertising production work, all while continuing to paint. Steve builds workboat models and has been an instructor at the Wooden Boat School in Brooklyn, Maine for nearly 20 years. Steve's connection to Maine is through his in-laws, who retired here about 50 years ago in the Damariscotta area. His experiences with his family left him with this deep, deep attachment and love of Maine. His father-in-law loved boats, as does Steve, especially older ones that still have a story to tell. And all of these experiences are inspiration for his beautiful paintings on view this month. Please join me in welcoming artist Steve Rogers.
Hi, I'm Steve Rogers, and I'm one of the artists in the show this month. And my work is primarily marine art, and all of it from Maine. And I primarily think of myself as a marine artist. And like many artists, I work from photographs, and the photographs are mine. I do travel to all the places that you see in my paintings, and walk around and look and see what there is to see, and then discover things that really interest me, and I take a picture of those. In fact, I take a lot of pictures of those. Artists that do my kind of work will take pictures around 180 degrees around whatever the subject is. And the reason for that is so that you see all the things that there are, because one of the things a lot of my paintings depend on is detail. And the details are important, and the people that like marine paintings and marine art actually know most of the details. So when they look at one of my paintings, they're expecting to see it. So that's why, I'm so careful about that. And then the other part of that is I love structure. I really love looking at a boat and see how it's made. I love seeing inside it. And that's one of the reasons that I like wrecks so much, because a lot of times there's parts where the side of the hull is open or the deck is open, and you can look inside and see all the structures that make it a boat. And I just kind of like that sort of thing. And so that's why you see a lot of that in my art. I've been painting full time now for about 30 years. Before that, I did mostly some advertising design and some retail consulting. But I always knew at some point in time I'd be back making my living as an artist. And it's a scary thing to start with, but uh, eventually I started to be very successful, and I was just so pleased with that because I love it. It's interesting. My parents were from the World War II and Depression era generation, and when I was 18, we had a conversation about, oh, I'd like to go to art school. Wouldn't that be great? I could go to Pratt or someplace of that level. And my parents were just like, oh, no, you need to be able to get a real job. And so you're going to have to go to actual college and get a real degree. And that's the way they looked at it. And being 18 and not having any independent money of my own, I just sort of rolled over and said yes. But the whole time I was in college, I did paintings, and back then I sold them for $20. But in the '60s that was date money, and then I did a cartoon series for the local paper, and that sort of thing. So I've never taken my hand out of the art, doing art, and even when I was in the service, I did cartoons for the local, maintenance schedule, usually pretty critical of what was going on. So they weren't always popular. And I was spoken to once or twice about that. And in my work in doing store design and retail consulting, I always was the one that got picked to do the decor plans. So to end up making my living as a full-time artist, I couldn't be happier. I'm right where I need to be. And it's been 30 years now, and I still love it. I worried for a time if in the morning when I woke up and I had been painting all week, if I could go back to the easel and continue to paint, and would I still love it? And the good news is I do. I get up in the morning, and after my morning routine, I head down to my studio, and I just love what I do, and I will always love it. And I just consider myself extremely fortunate to do it. I've always been interested a little bit in history, and my degree's in anthropology, and that's a small part of that. And one of the things I've always been interested in is ships and how they're built, and when they were built and how they evolved. And I live in Lewis, Delaware, which is a small town on the coast. But we were the port of one of the largest Menhaden fleets in the country, and they were here for a long time. And the most amazing thing is that many of their boats were built in Portland, Maine, by the Portland Company. And so I came up here several times to Portland to go to the Maine Historical Society and go through their plans and files and looking up details and images and drawings of some of the Menhaden boats. And I've always enjoyed that. I just couldn't be more pleased to be an artist at the Portland Art Gallery. I just think it's one of the nicest galleries I've ever been in. I love the light. I am impressed by the other artists here, and I'm just really at my happy place when I come here.
And now I'd like to introduce artist MJ Benson. MJ studied photography at the School and Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree through Tufts University. Her passion for painting started, however, through the continuing education program here at the Maine College of Art in Portland, and we are so glad that it did. MJ has also spent 2 sessions at the Open Door program at the Haystack Mountain School of Crafts. MJ's paintings are abstract, atmospheric bands of color that swoop and swirl and sometimes just shatter if refracted through a kaleidoscope. Her work evokes the intersection of sky and land and sea, yet it captures a sense of energy rather than that representational portrait of a scene. When people view her work here at the gallery, we hear, wow, I can just feel that energy coming off of the canvas. So please join me in welcoming artist MJ Benson.
Thank you so much, Emma. It's been so wonderful to have my work at Portland Art Gallery, and I'm really excited to have a big body of work in there this month, November, with Steve and Whitney and Bibby. And I'm excited to see how the work all comes up together. I do have a very large piece in this month called Sweep. It's making its Portland debut. It is a monstrous, beautiful beast of a painting. And I look forward to hearing what everyone has to say about it. I really am excited to see it up. And the rest of my work I've been doing for the last 6 months or so that you're going to see is a lot about coming from fearlessness for me. I've been trying to really be a little bit less worried about how my process is going and taking some more risks with what I'm using with my media. And I've been working a lot more in oil these days as well, which has a very different feel to it than acrylic when I'm doing the process. It demands a lot more patience, which is an interesting interaction with the idea of fearlessness as well. And most of the work is about meditation on a couple of trips that I took this year. One up to the Penobscot River by the Big Eddy, which is this big, beautiful place to fish. And also in one of my favorite places, Echo Lake in Fayette, Maine. And so there are a number of pieces that are reflections on those trips and my memories from those places. So I hope you have a wonderful visit to Portland Art Gallery. Please come by and see the work. And if you like one, you can always take it home. Thanks.
And now I'd like to introduce artist Whitney Heavey. Whitney loves painting the natural environment around her with particular interest in this ocean and its coast. She was born and raised in New England and has spent much of her life exploring and painting its diverse landscape, most especially its coastline. Whitney received her Bachelor in Fine Arts from Skidmore College, during which time she studied for a year in Florence, Italy, at Studio Art Centers International. After teaching art and working as an art buyer for children's publishing companies, Whitney started painting full-time in 2005 from her studio at Art Space Maynard in Massachusetts. Whitney has been juried into many selective shows, including one at the Cambridge Art Association. And among recent awards, she received a first prize in oils at the All Cape Cod Art Show in Chatham, Mass. Whitney is also a member of the Copley Society of Art. Please join me in welcoming artist Whitney Heavey.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. And thank you to Portland Art Gallery for inviting me to share my newest work with you. I'm really excited to see it all up in the gallery, and I'm excited for you to see it as well. So I've been with Portland Art Gallery for 5 years now, and I live on Cape Cod year-round, and I have always loved the landscape and painting, and I've been very fortunate that my parents were always super supportive of my desire to paint, and also, you know, I had a family, especially my mom and my grandmother, who were very much into being out in nature and observing nature, and also very creative. So I was very lucky in that way. My current body of work I have been working on for about the past 9 months, and thanks to a little workshop we did at the Portland Art Gallery last spring about writing. I've also been writing about my work while I've been painting this body of work, and it's been really interesting and useful for me to sort of, I've always known I love to paint the landscape. I've always known I love the ocean. But the writing has helped me to sort of put it all together and really just really sort of help me to find the why. And in these exercises, I've sort of come to the discovery that for me, painting the ocean is about connection. The ocean connects us to so much. It connects us to our past memories as a child on the beach with family. It connects us to our present, being, awakening our senses when we're at the ocean or on the ocean or in the ocean. And also, it connects us with nature and the universe and ourselves. And then it connects us to our future with, looking out the ocean gives you time to reflect and to dream. And I've always loved that. And I've loved that sort of, just complex relationship with the ocean and how good it is for me. And I always hope that for the viewers, that's where my work can connect them to their own personal experience with the ocean. And, they can go to their, they can go to their own memories or their own dreams or their own benefits they get from the sea. And it's been really exciting for me to sort of discover that connection of everything. And ultimately the ocean does connect us. It connects us all. It connects our entire universe. And I love that Portland Art Gallery is connecting me to you and my art to you as well. And of course, I do love our community there and connecting with the other artists. And can't wait to see MJ and Steve and Bibby's work together. And one other thing, so this past 1.5 years has been personally kind of tough for my family. We've had a lot of unexpected changes and moves, and also some sudden losses of some significant people in our lives. And for me, often I paint boats in my paintings. It's really the only human-made structure or item that I generally paint these days. If you find everything else is natural, from the natural world. And so for me, boats have sort of a special meaning in my work. Sometimes the boats are representative of certain emotions or dreams or strength or qualities that, I'm trying to have, or that I feel like I have, or, but oftentimes, especially the boats that are further away, closer to the horizon, often remind me of, there's a poem, it's been mostly attributed to Henry Van Dyke. And it's about this sailing ship that's sailing off towards the horizon. And it's getting smaller and smaller. And eventually you don't see it. But it's still there. And after losing my dad suddenly a year and a half ago, that imagery of a boat on the horizon has been really comforting to me. Just because I can't see him doesn't mean he's not here with us. And I think the ocean just has an amazing ability to comfort and heal and provide so much. And I'm just grateful for this opportunity to connect my work with you and hopefully bring some of those things to your experience viewing it and your memories of the ocean. And I just want to say thank you again to Portland Art Gallery. The motto of my college, I use it all the time, is creative thought matters. And during the past 2 years, the amount of pivoting and effort that the folks at Portland Art Gallery have made to be creative in problem solving, to try new things, to get our art in front of people in different ways. It's really, I'm so proud and grateful to be part of the gallery. And it's also given me a chance to explore Maine more. And what can I say? I'm a coastal girl. Give me a coast and I am in love. So enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Bibby, MJ, Steve, and Whitney for all of your special comments. And thank all of you for joining us at our November virtual opening. If you can, join us in person here on November 3rd, 5 to 7 at 154 Middle Street in the heart of the Old Port. You can always find us 24/7 at portlandartgallery.com. On our website, you'll find our weekly podcast, Radio Maine, with Dr. Lisa Belisle, who interviews our artists and other members of our community and creative community. And you can always find us on Instagram at Portland Art Gallery. Thank you. Be well, stay curious, and stay in touch.